Oh, yeah, it's a great book.
Oh.
It's Foundation.
I feel like we should start with a song.
Yeah.
What page number is on Nothing But the Blood, Andrew?
Foundation.
212, I believe.
You believe.
First thing you have to do is memorize every.
Dude! Fail!
He's right. Everybody starts walking out one by one. Andrew, where are thy accusers of?
All right, everyone stand together. Have I? Let's pray. Father, I pray that you bless this class this evening. I pray that you would help us to learn and help us to desire to serve in the ministry of music in the church. And I pray this all in Jesus' name. Amen. So yeah, my point's made. You need a song leader. Welcome to congregational song leading. I think it's probably 98, prior to elementary level. Most of the stuff that was taught to me about song leading is stuff that people have decided to do in their own church or in their own style. There's not really many, I guess there is an official way to do it if you want to be a choir conductor or an orchestra conductor. But when it comes to congregational song leading, there are a couple of things that are more important than making sure you slap the air just the right way. So this is congregational song leading. You are the congregation today, this evening, but eventually you will not be. You will be the song leadering. So there's the laser pointer. The purpose of this class is to instruct, obviously. We'll talk about what the duties of a song leader are, what your responsibility is, what makes a great song leader, as opposed to, an average song leader. The mechanics of song leading, that's how to move your hand, and everyone wants to know that. That's what y'all came for, right? Who tells you where to go with your hand? Well, use them if you got them, I say. So you all have hands, and we're going to learn to use them. Personal church song leading philosophy. This is what I personally feel a song leader ought to know, and where our church stands on how a congregational song leader should perform his duties and his philosophy about that. And then also, besides just instructing, I would hope that this class encourages you to serve in this area of ministry, to demonstrate that song leading is for every Christian man. It's not I'm not spiritually gifted in this area. Anybody can song lead, and that's a fact. So it is for every person in this room and all of the Christian men who aren't in this room. I also hope that this class creates or hones an ability through experience. Creates if you have no ability or no experience, and hones what experience or ability you do have. The duties of the song leader, simple. Leads by example. The song leader is literally up front so that everybody can see what to do, hear what to do. The song leader sings the melody. That's the part of the song that you all know. What can wash away my sin? So visitors know what the song sounds like. They can listen, pick up on it. So the congregation can hear where they are in the song if they're not paying attention, like every good congregation does. So you lead by example. You show the congregation what they ought to be doing, how they ought to be singing, how loud, how fast, how slow, how quiet. And also, you direct both the congregation and the accompanist together. So that's the congregation out here, but also the person at the piano or organ, which we won't have, or the accordion, guitar, whoever else is accompanying the music. You're keeping them together. Piano is not facing the congregation. Congregation is not leading the piano. You are. I feel like we should define what a song leader is, besides just what his duties are. A song leader leads the song. He tells the people how to sing it, leading by example, also tells the pianist how to play it, how fast or how slow. Not just setting an example for the singers, but telling the accompanists and the singers how things are going to be. Let's see. So what makes a great song leader? If we want to make song leading great again, what does that mean? We need song leaders who have a very specific quality that everyone has the potential to maintain or achieve. So what makes a great song leader? Is it the hair, the baton, the glasses, the performance of a fantastic conductor? Or is it the strict adherence to all of the rules and the things in books and stuff and master's degrees? I would argue that the greatest attribute that a song leader could have is a good attitude. What makes a great song leader is their attitude. And one more time, but seriously this time, your attitude. Psalm 95:1 says, "O come, let us sing unto the Lord, let us make a joyful noise to the rock of our salvation." And Psalm 100 verse 2 says, "Worship the Lord with gladness, come before him with joyful songs." Both of these verses are invitations. Come, let us sing, let us make a joyful noise, come before him with joyful songs. This is how you come before the Lord with songs. This is how we are going to sing together. You tell the congregation how they're going to sing. Many times, especially Wednesday evenings. Wednesday evenings are tough. Thursday evenings in Miami Beach. People come from work, or people have spent a long day in church, and they're tired. And they don't really feel like standing up, and you're going to tell them to stand up anyway. And then when they stand up, they don't want to get up again for that last song, or whichever song they're going to be standing up for. But you're going to tell them they're going to do it, and you're going to tell them they're going to do it joyfully. So you're going to be the parent in this situation. So the great song leader has a great attitude, which is joyful, but also authentic. Philippians 4:4 says, "Rejoice in the Lord always," and again I say rejoice. So I can tell you that the great song leader has a joyful attitude, but what if you just got off work? What if you've just spent a long day in church? Fake it till you make it? No. No. You can put a smile on, but people know when you're faking it until you haven't quite made it. You have to rejoice in the Lord. You have to have the spiritual maturity to say, yes, that I'm tired. No, I don't know much about music. Or no, I'm not a very outgoing person. I'm not a very great leader, maybe. But I'm going to lead this song joyfully, and I'm going to make them sing it joyfully. I'm going to make them want to. That's the greatest aspect of a song leader, if they can sing a song with joy, with a smile, and in doing so, they set the example for the congregation. They make the congregation want to sing a song with joy, with a smile. The college that I went to in California, I've from going to different churches. It's a big church, a small school, but pretty well known among some circles. But when I tell people what school that I go to, usually the person that they mention that they remember hearing or seeing at this church is the song leader that they have currently. And the reason why is because he is just a big, jolly Filipino man singing his heart out all the time. He doesn't move his hands much, besides to, pump the air. Sometimes he does the hand movements, and I wish I had a picture of him because he would just make you smile. And I could say, that the way that he song leads, the way he presents himself on a platform in front of 1,000 people is the same way that he teaches a personal finance class to about 5 college students. So he's just always that outgoing, happy person. He walks into the room, he makes you want to smile. That's what your job is as a congregational song leader. Not just knowing the mechanics of how you lead the song, which I want you all to know, but more important than any of that is the smile. It's the authenticity that comes with it. It is the desire to rejoice in the Lord and to sing songs of joy and gladness. Obviously, songs have other purposes. Songs teach us. Songs encourage. Songs praise. But, none of that is accomplished very well if it's not done with enthusiasm and with joy. So, the mechanics of song leading. This is going to be the majority of the class. We're going to spend a lot of time on it for practice, and we're going to laugh, we're going to cry as we learn the different methods involved in actually leading a song. So some terms we ought to know. Time signature. You're all going to need a hymn book. I hope you realize this. You all have a hymn book in front of you? We want to know what the time signature is. And if you've taken piano lessons, or if you've taken any music class, you know these things, but we need to make sure that everyone's on the same page, literally. 212. I would love to put slides of music and notes and things, but I do not know how to do that. So maybe some of you can teach me at some point how to make music language appear on the screen. So we'll use the hymn books in front of us for now until maybe I can figure it out for next week. The time signature in your songbook is, if you look at the first word, what, almost right above that W, you see a 4 stacked on top of a 4. Everybody see that? That is your time signature. So the time signature tells you how many beats per measure and which note gets one full beat. Now, I hope we all know what a beat is. It is that what you would hear a metronome produce. Bump, 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 bump. A metronome is a fantastic tool that you use to count beats. How's that for circular reasoning? So a metronome tells, basically you set how many beats per minute, and then it ticks that fast or that slow to keep you in rhythm. So the beats are that consistent time-keeping pattern within a song. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then how many beats are in each measure is really what we want to know to be able to count through the entirety of the song, because sometimes the time signature changes from measure to measure. The time signature tells us what pattern to use, where to swing your hand, when, how often. So we need to know our time signatures. And there are many time signatures. We're going to focus, did you amen? Amen, many time signatures. There are 3 patterns that we're going to learn for these time signatures. Okay, 4 if you're really smart. Yeah, I put that at the bottom of the patterns. But 3 main patterns you can use for any time signature, whether it be 4/4, like you see here, also common time. I don't think our hymn book has common time notation by any of the hymns. Do you know?
I'd like to know what common time is first.
It's just a big C
I'd have to look.
in place of the 4/4. So 4/4 is the most common, hence the term common time. For the top number tells you how many beats are in each measure. Okay, so we're counting beats per measure. We want to define what the measure is so that we know where we're counting. It's the space between 2 measure bar lines. So the 2 lines, if we skip ahead to weigh my sin, because there's no bar line really right before what, But you see on weigh my sin, there's a line before weigh and a line after sin, not where the words are, but above where the notes are. Does everyone see those two lines?
Yes.
They're at the same intervals throughout the whole song. Those are our measure lines. That's our measure. It's the way that we measure how many beats fit into a certain amount of time. So the top number of the time signature, going back to the time signature, tells you how many beats are in each measure, how many beats go between those two lines. The bottom number is going to tell you how many, or which type of note gets one beat. So if you look at that first note on what, that's what we call a quarter note. Now, I was supposed to make copies of, our choir has these papers with all the time signatures and note values.
You want me to see if I can make copies real quick of the?
Would you please? I'm sure.
It'd be easier if we do that.
Yeah.
I mean, I could send one.
I
of the
think
young
every one of
strapping-
the fold.
Could see one of the young strapping men to do it, but.
I think every one of the folders should have one. So if you just find it and make, how many do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Can you read, Andrew? Can you read music? No? Would you like to learn? Maybe. So that's our quarter note. 4/4 timing is the most common. Yes, thank you. The quarter note is the most common. Now, we all know our fractions, right?
Maybe.
I'm not talking about how to add or subtract fractions, but like just what a fraction looks like. So a quarter involves the number 4. An eighth note involves the number 8. There are 16th notes. There are half notes, which would be represented by a 2. And there are whole notes, which would just, I don't know. Whole notes are just whole. 1, I guess. But there's no 1/1 time, don't worry. So each one of these quarter notes, the black circles, black ovals with a stem, those each get 1 beat. How do we know? Because the bottom number of the 4/4 is a 4. Top number tells you how many in each measure, 4 beats in each measure. Bottom number tells you which type of note gets 1 beat. Quarter, 4, quarter note gets 1 beat. So each of those notes right there, what, can, wash, those each get 1 beat. 4 beats in that one measure. The measure is separated by that line. Does that make sense to everybody?
Sorry to interrupt. Lee?
Yeah.
Followed by a half note. Now, the longer a note gets, the emptier it gets. So we have the quarter note, that is a filled-in black oval with the stem. Our half note, it's an empty oval with a stem. It's double the value of that quarter note. That's our half note. Fractions, right? Makes sense. So that note there on sin would get 2 beats because it can contain 2 quarter notes. What can wash away my sin? Nothing but the blood of Jesus. Now these notes with the flags, we said the emptier that a note gets, the longer it becomes. So they've added a flag onto these filled-in black ovals on nothing but the, they have the stem, but they also have a flag. That is our 8th note, and that's going to get half of a beat. Quarter note gets 1 beat. When you cut a quarter in half, you get an 1/8. So that's going to get half of a beat because the quarter note gets 1 beat. 4/4. 4 beats per measure. Quarter note gets 1 beat. So you can count out those first 3 measures. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the whole line. And there's a varying number of snaps that I did there, but they all took the same amount of time. And that's supposed to happen, You're supposed to tell the congregation when to sing and how long to hold out their notes. And the piano, you're supposed to tell the piano player to do the same. But they should know what to expect, especially at the very beginning of a very basic song. So these papers, could I have one for me, please? Thank you. So these are some very basic, it doesn't have all of the time signatures that we're going to look at, but basic note values, basic time signatures. The time signature definition has the word bar instead of measure. They both mean the same thing. So you see 2/4, that definition right there. 2 quarter note beats per bar or per measure. 2 beats per measure, quarter note gets 1 beat. Top number tells you how many beats. Bottom number tells you which note gets 1 beat. 3/4, 3 beats, quarter note gets 1 beat. Now, when we get down to 6/8 timing, that's when things start to change. But we can tell kind of how the time signatures vary from one another. So 6/8, both numbers are different. Top number tells you how many beats are in each measure. So how many beats are in each measure in 6/8 timing? 6. 8 is the bottom number, so that's going to tell you which note gets 1 beat, expressed in or called by its fraction name. So the note that gets 1 beat is the 8th note. 6 beats per measure, 8th note gets 1 beat. Let's look at 234 in your songbooks. 234. So in this song, we have 6/8 timing, 6 beats per measure. 8th note gets 1 beat. Now the first note is a quarter note, which is twice as long as an 8th note. So how many note beats does it get? 2. Sing, 2 snaps. Them over, 1 snap per 8th note because they are each 1 beat. So different counting, but same time. Let's go back to Nothing But the Blood, 212. We'll talk more about time signatures and different patterns to use because we will talk about some special instances in our hymn books that are very common, songs that we sing a lot that have really unique time signatures.
So you're talking like 9/8?
9/8, 12/8, 4/4, then 2/4, then back to 4/4.
Oh, like in times like these.
Sure.
That was one you had the other day.
Yeah, that's a recent one that should be fresh in your mind.
Measure or two where it's 2/4 and
Yeah.
it goes back, right back.
Right. So sometimes it'll change, but it'll tell you when it changes. There will be those numbers. So another thing that sets most song leaders apart, if you go to the average church in America, the song leader is some guy who said, I guess I'll do it. Sometimes they want to, other times they don't want to. And when they don't want to, they don't bring that attitude that is necessary to make a great song leader. And so you'll notice these things. How many of you have been to a church where you noticed the song leader didn't want to be there? Yeah. Oh, you're all very nice. Or maybe you haven't been to many churches. Because I've been to a lot.
I think some people are really intimidated, and so maybe they want to, but it's hard to be in front of people and look happy.
Maybe. But I've had personal conversations with some people that are not intimidated, but would rather intimidate. So make sure you have the right attitude. Where was I? What were we talking about?
Weird patterns.
Oh yeah, the weird patterns. I don't know why we were talking about that ahead of time, but probably because we're going to talk about the first pattern, which is the 4/4 pattern. We skipped over posture. We'll get to that. But the 3 patterns that we're going to learn are the double, the triple, the quadruple. 4/4, guess which one that would be? Quadruple. Okay? So that just means that you're going to swing your hands in 4 directions. The downbeat is the most important. That's the most emphasized. Good karate chop. So this is probably, because I said that, this is probably where we should talk posture, because we're not song leading with karate chops. Seen people song lead with a finger. I've seen people song lead with
Just floppy wrists.
yeah, the octopus. So why don't we all stand together? And I will also say, because a great song leader is often very expressive, I don't count myself to be a great example. If you've seen me song lead, I find it very difficult to get my expressions onto my face. I hope you're not falling asleep right now because of it. But another thing that I hope to instill in you right now before you learn anything else is to act like you're coming across a mountain lion. Make yourself bigger. Okay, 2 hands. You're gonna swing far, and you're gonna swing. I guess far and wide are the same thing. But you're gonna put your elbows out. Like we're gonna do the chicken dance, but not quite. You want to keep your hands upturned. You're not going to lead like this or like this. Just kind of rest your hands naturally, but you don't want a floppy wrist. You want to keep your wrist the same. What is going to move is not necessarily your shoulders, but what's not going to move, is going to be your elbow and your wrist. So your forearms are going to swing down. That's the first. That's the big beat. That's the down beat. And if you've ever seen, something fall ever, it bounces normally, right? So we're gonna provide the big beat, and to show that it's the big beat, it's gonna bounce up just a little bit. For this 4/4 pattern, we're gonna have 4 directions. So we're gonna go down, in, out, up, down, in, out, up. Not down, in, out, up, because that's very confusing. When your beats are a point here, and a point here, if you're swinging your hand all over the place, you're hitting beats. Invisible beats are being pounded. So you want to make sure that you're being very specific with where you're hitting your hands. Down, in, out, up. Down, in, out, up. What can wash away my sin? Okay, so that's your first pattern. You want to make sure you're standing up straight, obviously. Elbows out, and obviously a smile on your face, and singing with joy in your heart. Okay, so that's the first pattern. Down, in, out, up. You're going to get your own style. Like I said, people, do their own thing many times, and you'll find out your specific song leading style, which I find very interesting to discover in people. What comes out when they try to do song leading. It can be very humorous, and who doesn't love finding more things to poke fun at people for? So you can have a seat. That's your 4/4 timing. When you are leading and you come across a really long note, so let's say on the refrain or the chorus, oh, precious is the flow that makes me white as snow. Leave your hand open. Maybe keep it in motion to let them know you're still going. And this is where song leaders attack the congregation, berate them for not watching them. You want them to be joyful. You want to be joyful, and so don't make them feel stupid for not watching you do something they weren't expecting. They're a congregation. They're just here to go to church. Be gentle on them. But when you want to hold them out, it's pretty intuitive. Not everyone in the congregation goes to a song leading class. They don't know what you're doing, but they know what you're doing somehow. It's just natural. When you hold out this, you're expecting more. Same thing for pianists. Pianists don't always go to take a song leading class, and yet if you communicate well with your hands, they know what to do intuitively. So you want to hold it out. Now, how do you stop them? That's the most efficient way to do it. Some people, they make a full swirl, but then you're slapping more notes, slapping more beats. So again, you want to be very deliberate. This is efficient, the more time you take to close your hand, the more beats pass. So you want to keep with the timing. That makes me white as snow. No, and the timing continues. Let's see. So on whatever beat you're coming in from, just holding out your hand tells them to hold it. You can close your fist to tell them to stop, but sometimes the song just keeps going. Sometimes we like to throw in holds in the middle of a measure, and you get a little bit thrown off with your beats. And so what do you do then? Instead of closing them off, this is one of the things that I like to do. I found that it's helpful for me. I bring my hand out to the side and then bring it up. Normally you're going to be on the end or near the end of a measure. When you get to a hold, let me see if I can find an example in our songbooks. What number is Blessed Assurance?
255.
Thank you. So here we've got a unique time signature. We have 9/8. And so before we talk about what 9/8 is and what pattern you're going to use, everyone knows what happens on the chorus, right? Well, if you've been to different churches, many times they hold out those first three notes. Now, in reality, those are the last three notes of the measure. They're the first three notes of the chorus, but they're the last three notes of that measure. It's in the same measure as blood. They're divided by those two measure lines just to tell you the verse has ended, here's the chorus. That's why they doubled it up, to let you know the division. This is my, that's only 3 beats because the bottom number is 8, meaning what note gets 1 beat? Eighth note. If it's filled in with a flag, 1 flag, that's your 8th note. So that would be, this is my. But if you want to hold those out, this is, bring them back in and chop them again. My story. And then you bring it down for the downbeat and let it drop a bit. Go back to 212. Okay, so we've talked about the posture. We've talked about the 4/4 pattern, the hold, the cutoff. There's really not much else to song leading besides, now we haven't talked about the various instances. You know when you're learning a new topic and you think, oh yeah, I've got this down, and then something arises that you've never even considered before, that you didn't know existed, and then all of a sudden you don't have it down? That's kind of what time signatures do to you when you're song leading. They throw in numbers like 12, which has nothing to do with 1, 2, 3, or 4. And if you haven't learned to count that high, you're in trouble. We're going to talk about that. So we've talked about the quadruple. I guess we're going to go backwards. The second most common pattern or most common time signature would be the triple time. If you would go to 219. Grace, 'Tis a Charming Sound. I hope you all know this one. This is one of my favorite hymns that I learned since I've been here. There's going to be 3 beats in each measure. We know that because the top number in the time signature is 3. And the familiar 4 gets 1 beat. Now, let's skip down. Let's skip down to the chorus. That'll save us some confusion. We have a dotted quarter note here. Quarter note gets how many beats? 1, because we're in 3/4 timing. Now, what happens when they add a dot to the next to it? That's when you have to do some addition. You're going to add half of that note's value. So you all know what half of 1 is, right? It's half. So it's going to be 1.5 beats. You got a question, James?
What's the difference between the dots? Two are farther apart than the other one. Look at
Where are you looking at?
the chorus.
Mm-hmm.
Save, the dots are further apart. As opposed to this.
The notes are just closer together, the dots are next to the notes.
Yeah. So the dots go in combination with the
They go
notes
in
to make them
the
longer.
same, what is that? The note line.
I don't know if you would call it a line, space or line, whatever, wherever the note lands on, the dot would be next to it. So that tells you to add half of its value. So I gave a little bit of an example in counting earlier. Counting is really important, not just for normal life skills, but for trying to get a hang of beats and rhythms in music. So obviously you can count a whole beat as 1, 2, 3, 4. The more notes that fit into one beat, you're just going to add more syllables. To count to eighth notes, you might say 1 and 2 and 3 and, obviously keeping with the rhythm. So on that chorus we have 1 and 2 by comes in on an and. 1 and 2 by grace alone. So we're just going to hold out save just a little bit longer than 1 beat. That's going to be 1.5 beats. Saved by grace alone. So your 3/4 pattern, your triple pattern, is going to be down. That's always going to be your first beat in every pattern. Down, and drop it. Down, out, up. Down, out, up. We're cutting out the in. Down, out, up, down. Okay, so we have saved. Notice, whoops. Notice how the arms go out. Saved before we get to by, because it's 1.5 beats. Saved by grace alone. 1, 2, 3, 1. I'm not used to counting out loud.
No, I'm just trying to pick up what you're doing.
Sure. 1, 2, and 3.
3.
Saved by grace.
All right, what am I doing wrong? No, I need to slow down.
Eyes on the swoop instead of on the end.
Right. So if you want to think about it this way, if you would look at the word saved and the quarter notes there,
Correct, yeah, because
if you would
pull that out.
if you would isolate just the notes, not the dots, if you'd isolate those, that's a beat in and of itself.
Okay,
If you would circle the dots combined with the eighth note on by, that would be beat 2. So while you're holding,
okay, because that's not a quarter note, that's an eighth note.
right, it's late to the party. So while you're singing saved, your arms are going out, and once they get out, that's when you sing by. Saved by grace, and you would group together those last 2 eighth notes as the third beat. Saved by grace alone. Now another thing to take note, does that answer your question?
It does, it's just going to take me a while to undo that habit.
Yeah, it takes some practice. By the way, just like I'm sure Pastor taught this in his preaching class, the best way to learn song leading is to do it in the mirror, on the outside of the mirror, looking at yourself in the mirror. So you can see, most importantly, so you can see what kind of face you make, and how you look when you think you're smiling. Yeah, have you ever watched yourself on video and realized I did not look like I imagined myself looking in that moment? It's helpful to see the face you're making, how your smile looks when you sing. You don't want it to be menacing, so you might have to practice that. You don't want it to be cheesy or fake. You want it to be natural. And the easiest way to do that is be authentic, to have a natural, actual smile. But that's difficult to cultivate when you're on your own staring at yourself.
It's easier than it's ever been before because there are so many cameras and video calls.
Oh yeah, I guess
Get used
you all take selfies?
Zoom generation.
back when like you weren't used to seeing yourself on video or something.
I'm still not used to it. I could probably count on one of my hands how many. I don't know what I was gonna say. I lost my train of thought. No, I've done that a lot for song leading class. I took it in college. I had to take it. I had to go to song leading class for 4 hours every week. 2 hours on Tuesdays, 2 hours on Thursdays. And I had to sing in front of people Tuesdays and Thursdays. And I had to, our song leading classroom had a mirror on the back wall. And so I had to stare at myself, not for the full 2 hours because they gave everyone else a turn. But that's what it takes to learn song leading. Honestly, just looking at yourself and realizing that's what I look like. And hopefully you change it. Or maybe it's all right, and maybe you might be impressed. So practice how you look, being distinct with your beats. If you look at the chorus on Saved by Grace 'Tis the Charming Sound, alone, on the lone part, we have a half note, which gets 2 beats because this is 3/4 timing. Quarter note gets 1 beat, half note gets 2 beats. We have a little squiggly line interrupting the notes. That's what we call a rest. And if you look at your music paper, that is a quarter rest. So that rest is also going to get a beat. I have to tell this to my piano students. Used to be all the time. Not so much anymore. Most of them have learned. But just because there's a rest there does not mean you skip that beat. There is, that's true. And if you're under it, you're under arrest. There is still 3 beats in that measure between those 2 lines. It's just that one of them is empty space. We all know what silence feels like. It's real. It happens. And it takes time. Time doesn't stop just because there's silence. So that rest gets 1 beat. You could cut them off there, or you could count through to off. You could close your fist as you're going up to the 3rd beat. This is really one of those styles that you pick up, you decide. You could cut them off after 2 beats. Lone, this, and just drop down for the this. Whatever you decide to do, you could lead them in through lone, this. It's really up to you, whatever feels natural, whatever you pick up on the easiest. Like I said, I'm not here to teach you how to orchestrate an orchestra. I want you to be able to lead a congregation. That's what you're going to have opportunity to do many, many times. Now, a nice thing about this song is 4/4 makes a guest appearance. If you look at the verses, let's go back to the beginning of the song on Grace 'Tis a Charming Sound. We have 3/4 there at the very, very beginning. And then at the end of the line, the very, very, very end, we see 4/4, followed by nothing. That's just a polite reminder to tell you 4/4 is coming up on the next line. That way you don't get to the next line and all of a sudden you're surprised by this new time signature. They let you know ahead of time. And they do that with other things as well, like the key signature, but that's not really pertinent to song leading. So 4/4 on with the echo shall re. So if we're leading through that first line, Grace 'tis a charming sound, harmonious to the ear, and with the echo shall resound. And I added in that in beat because we're now in 4/4 timing. So I changed my pattern accordingly, and I didn't have to pretend I looked like I knew what I was doing. I actually knew what I was supposed to do. Now, let's say you do have to pretend you know what you're doing. There's a trick. Yeah, you could call it bouncing the basketball. I don't actually, but it's, it's what it's called. The double pattern, okay? So you drop that first, and it bounces because it's accented. It's firm, emphasized. It bounces, and then you swing your hand back up. 1, 2, 1, 2. Or you could just 1, 2, 1, 2. It's all the same to some people. If they've never taken a class on it, they don't know the difference. At least they know where their beats are. So I've done this with this song many times. Almost every time we sing it, and I'm leading the song, I have to pull out that 1-2 pattern because I forgot what was happening. And so let's say you get confused. Harmonious to the ear, heaven with should have gone in. The echo shall resound, and all the world shall, and nobody knows the difference. There you go. Life hack, right, Tyler? One of my favorite life hacks. Now, you might not think that those beats, those hand motions are very important. You can get by just by leading with your voice. You lack clarity with your voice. People don't know where you're going. When you swing your beats, you can be expressive. Like, here we go, we're about to hit the downbeat. Especially on the chorus, and you want them to sing louder, you get bigger. If you want them to sing quieter, you get smaller. Maybe lean in a little bit. You can be expressive with it. When you're just singing, you can use your facial expressions, but it won't be as effective as a physical representation of what's going on. You look like you're thinking. You got a question? You got a comment? I didn't think so. Let's go to Joy to the World. What number is that? 87. This is, as Brother Adrian said, 2/4. That means how many beats are in each measure? 2. The top number tells you how many beats in each measure. Bottom number is 4, which tells us what? Quarter note, the familiar 4, gets 1 beat. So we're going to use that down, up pattern. Down, up, or bounce it. Some people do the check mark. But that's 2/2. Joy to the world, the Lord is come. Let earth receive her King. Are you going to hold it, or are you going to lead through it? That's up to you. So this is another reason why you want to use your swings and not just your voice, because the pianist isn't watching your face. And I've been in that position many times. Joy to the world, he leadeth me, blessed assurance. These are all songs that when the song leader feels like it, he holds out certain notes, and if he's not telling you where he's holding it out, the pianist doesn't know that they're moving on without you. So it's best, when in doubt, use your hands. If you're not going to use your hand, you better practice with them beforehand. And that is not very practical. You can't always meet with your pianist and practice with your pianist, especially here where our piano is front and center. And right before service, we don't have, a quiet place you can practice with your pianist. So use your hands. Just like how your mother told you to use your words when you were asking for something, when you wanted something, use your hands. When you want to let the congregation and the pianist know where you're going with the song. So why don't we all stand up together? Let's sing Joy to the World. We'll do the first verse. Why don't you do that pattern with me? The down, up pattern. On the first. Ready? Joy to the world, the Lord is come. Let earth receive her King. Let every heart prepare him room. And heaven and nature sing. And heaven and nature sing. And heaven and nature sing. All right, so we all know how to move our arms up and down, right? That's basically the pattern. Now, again, you don't want to seem nervous, but I am nervous. You don't want to seem nervous. Again, let the joy take a higher, a more obvious place than the nervousness. So you don't want to keep your hands rigid. You want to keep them loose, not your wrists, but your hands, and have that. Hopefully, the more you do it, the more it feels natural. I know it is very unnatural, and if you haven't worked out your joints or this certain arm movement, you might get tired after a while. But it's a good exercise. If, I don't know if it prevents arthritis, but hopefully. You can have a seat. Now, we are nearly out of time. And in the future lessons, I wasn't sure if we would need 4 classes or not. I think we can do 3, just because I wasn't sure how much time we would need for teaching and then also for practice. I'd like to get you all up here so that you can direct us and see how effective it is. Direct the piano, direct us. And then we'll even let you decide where you want to throw in some holds where they do not belong. And you get to see, you get to test. It's okay to test other song leaders. They should be paying attention. They should know better. So you'll get to throw out that test, see if they're watching you for those hold, and then where to cut them off. And when you bring them in, you want to let them know, give a big breath. Joy to... So that's an important part of song leading too. Not just the pattern, but letting them know where you're going to start. The piano comes in on the intro. How's the congregation know when you're going to start singing? Are you going to start as soon as she presses the last note? Or are you going to wait longer than normal? Some people do that. Some song leaders wait pretty much 2 measures after the piano has stopped playing. We'll talk about how a pianist would normally give an introduction, just so that you all are aware. I can't say that everyone will always do that when they play for you, but normally they would. So you want to give them that almost like you're breathing, but not just with your breath, with your face and with your hands. And heaven and nature sing. You want to start with your hands up so you're getting their attention. Joy to the world. Make it a big show that you're breathing. It's impressive. Make them watch. And then it lets them know that you're there, you're starting, you're breathing, they should breathe, and joy to the world. We'll talk about other patterns, not really other patterns, but interruptions to patterns, different things to watch out for next week. Take these home and kind of look at them every now and then, quiz yourself on the time signatures, what the notes look like, and the rests are right next to it. Whole note rest hangs down from the top line. Half note rest looks the same, but it sits on top of the middle line, like a hat. That's how I remember. Half hat. It's alliterated. Right, Andrew? So, whole note hangs down, just a rectangle that hangs down from the top line. Half note rest sits on top of the third line. Quarter note rest kind of sits in the middle. Sometimes it's in other places, but it's very distinct. You should know what a quarter rest looks like. Eighth rest is a little dot with a slash, and then the smaller the note gets, they just add more dots. Same thing with the notes. Eighth notes have 1 beam or 1 flag. 16th notes would have 2 beams or 2 flags. 32nd notes, which you will not see in our hymn book, 3, and so on. It gets pretty crazy. So before we dismiss, are there any questions about what we've talked about today? Anything you'd like to know that be sure that we're covering later on? A question that you've always had about song leading that you've always just been too intimidated by Mr. Andrew to ask? Tyler?
Do people song lead with 2 hands or just like 1? It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They do it all kinds of ways. You know?
Supposed to do it with 2.
preparing for this class, I've unlocked a memory that I must have disposed of and emptied recycle bin for neighborhood Bible time training. A very unique process. I'm sure it was there because it could not have been anywhere else. I remember lying on the floor on my stomach and being told to lead singing with my head by lifting myself up. That might have been part of our, like they made us do calisthenics in the morning, so that might have been part of that. I don't know. Or maybe it was to teach us song leading. I don't remember, but I will not make you do that, rest assured.
Wednesday night, Andrew will be late.
I honestly do not remember.
Let's all stand. Well,
I do
I'm
not.
standing.
I do not remember, nor can I determine what the possible benefits of doing that could be. But I'm sure there was a reason, or maybe it was just to get us out of our shell. I don't know. Any other questions? So you can anyway. I would like for everyone to do it with two hands. I normally don't, but like I said, I'm not the perfect example of a good song leader. The bigger you are, the easier you can lead them. The more obvious you are, the more you draw attention to the leading, which you want. You want their attention. You want them to know what's going to happen. So you can use one hand, but it's, you know, I'm, what's the term?
Bias?
No, I'm not biased. I'm just, I use one hand almost all the time, but it's lazy.
Ambidextrous is being able to do both.
Right. Also song leading. Yeah, it's down is but down for both hands. In is both. It's always in. You think you're terrible with your left hand?
I think terrible with my right hand too, but that doesn't say anything. That's not the point.
Down is the same for both hands. In is always in. Out is always out. Up is always up. Practice helps with that. So use two hands when you lead for our church and other churches. Be better than me. Yes?
In 4/4, the second beat is in. Why is it out? Is it like
could be.
universally in, or is it could be out?
Just because it's easier to go in, out, up than in, out, up. Oh, sorry. Out, in, up. You're kind of, it's
Up outside like this.
no, and when you do 3/4, the reason why they
Identical, just mirrored.
no, you're wrong. So if you were to go out, in, up, it's a very restrictive motion. It's very awkward. I'm not asking you if it's awkward. I'm just telling you it's awkward. It's awkward for me. I don't know about you guys. I mean, maybe it's not awkward for you. And if you can do it and look natural, I really wouldn't care. But this is
So
the
it's because of the transition from in to up that is problematic.
yeah.
So the 3/4 doesn't have that, so that's why it goes to out and then up and skips the in.
Right. It's just the smoothest way to do it.
Okay. It felt like it wasn't matching. Like, why wouldn't you match it?
I apologize on behalf of all musicians. Yes, Mr. Pastor Price.
I was just trying a triangle. Like if you did the 3/4 and you went in instead of out, it would be like a.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes
Nazi salute, right?
that's something that happens to me. That's something that happens. And yeah, you know what happens when you do that in front of people. That happens quite a bit, just because I'm not very good at being mentally present when I'm song leading. No, I don't just struggle with putting a good face on, but I also struggle with thinking about what I'm doing. I look at people, and I hear people talking, and I get distracted, and I forget what I'm doing. So sometimes I do go in, and then I just go out, and I go up and down until I get back to where I belong. Yeah. When all hope is lost, go down and up. Bounce the basketball, as they say. Not gently or forcefully if you want them to be loud. Any other questions?
So in this class, are we going to learn how to sync our minds with that time
problem I'm having.
That's the mirror time.
That's what the practice time will help for.
Okay.
Yeah.
Practice in the mirror.
It'll come, huh? Okay.
Yeah.
Alright.
Anybody else? Tyler, you? What's your name?
Pay attention to the words and the music at the same time.
Well, fortunately, I know the words, so it's just for me. It's gonna be more about the music and learning the actual.
You don't really have to.
Memorize all the song numbers.
What you look at is the time signature. Hopefully, if you're leading the song, you know the melody. So if you know the melody, you know the time signature. You know there's 4 beats in each measure, so you can focus on the words.
But if the time's
Joy to the world. If the time signature changes, you have to look ahead of time to know that that's going to happen and be prepared. That's what it is. And all it takes is one glance. It's only normally in our hymn book. It will only change for 1 or 2 measures at a time, and that's the only time you need to be prepared for it. Read ahead. You have the capability of doing it.
That's the great point of this class, is just, you know, and I guess the difference between messing up a song and, you know, like, it's not the end of the world if you mess up a song, but it's a whole lot better if you don't. And just the time to take to look at something and be ready for it, and know what you're doing. You know, if it took you 30 seconds to look at a song, know what the time signature, and then know what the, you know, how many beat, you know, what do you call it, the metronome,
Beats?
yeah, how many,
time signature.
no, the speed, like how fast the beats are, just thinking through how fast it's gonna be sung ahead of time. Cause sometimes we'll sing a song in church and I quit singing it because it's so fast I can't breathe.
Well, that's the benefit of a song leader too. We're going to talk about
You lose a song,
the relationship between the pianist and the song leader. And the pianist is not singing normally. Barb likes to, which is really nice. Maybe that's why she plays slower than I'd like sometimes, most of the time. I'm sure she's listening. Hi, Barb. We miss you. Happy birthday. Anyway, the pianist isn't singing. And so they don't know you can't breathe if you're going too fast. They're just having a grand old time. So the song leader is there to bridge that gap between the piano and the congregation, and really emphasize. There are different things you can do to get the pianist's attention, even if they're not looking at you. We'll talk about different methods of doing that. Things that I've found that have worked. Yes, Brother James.
Like it's more of a suggestion, right? Like for this class plus for the choir practice, I have a counter.
What's a suggestion?
He wants a metronome.
Oh,
Like, well, you know, so
There's apps.
so you can actually get that time
You can just
in
put it
your
on your
mind.
phone, you gotta do a metronome on your phone.
yeah. It's a very simple tool. I'm sure there's more than one free Chinese app out there. There it is. You hear how that first one is higher pitched? That's your 1 beat. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's your big downbeat. That's 6/4 timing. Yeah.
Yeah, you can use that when you're practicing, that's a great way.
Any other questions? Yeah, I have this book that I was forced to buy in college to graduate. A complete manual for the ministry of church music. Lindsay Terry doesn't really look like the guy I'd like to get to know, but he thinks things through very thoroughly. It's a very, very simple book. You know, it's not written by like some college graduate. I don't know. He's probably was very smart, but it's very down to earth, and there are a ton of little chapters, just that help you kind of think through what goes into music ministry, the things that normal people, things that the average churchgoer wouldn't even think about. And so it's a suggestion. You don't need to buy it. There are very, very few sections about congregational song leading. But every Christian should be involved in music ministry at their church, so it's a good read. It's not like our church manual, but it is a complete manual, and it'll help you think about some things. If there aren't any other questions, we'll pray, and then we'll be dismissed. Father, thank you for the church members that have attended this evening, and I pray that you'd help us to be desirous to become good song leaders, just because with that we always know there will be a need wherever we are. I pray that you'd help us to serve with joy and humility, and I pray this all in Jesus' name. Amen. You are dismissed.